All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm really happy to be here to talk about Magic Keys with you all today and a fantastic panel we have. I'm Adam Levine, co-CEO of Ethos, and I'm joined here by Shingo, co-CEO and founder of Ethos. Here are our panelists today. Derek, you want to just do a quick intro on who you are and your background, what you're up to?
Been in the crypto space since about 2016. Originally developed the original Ethos wallet. So joining as an advisor, I'm currently the founder and CEO of a protocol, Steel Protocol, which does automated concentrated liquidity management, as well as off-chain compute. So excited to talk about everything wallet and Magic Keys and get this kicked off.
Great. And we're also joined by Ankur and Tanuj, who helped us build the first universal wallet and Bedrock, and now we're collaborating on a next-gen DeFi platform that includes Magic Keys, all these cool features, swaps yield. So you guys want to introduce yourself?
Sure, cool. So hi, I'm Ankur. I'm the CEO at Decode. We are a crypto blockchain development company. And at the same time, I'm also the CEO of Alfred, which is a non-custodial way of earning yields. And it's integrated into Ethos as such. For Ethos, I'm product managing. And I think Tanuj is the technical architect. I'll let Tanuj introduce himself.
Hi everyone, this is Tanuj Soni, and I have also been in crypto space since 2016. I have been the developer in the first version of Ethos Bedrock. I was looking over the security infrastructure stuff on the first version of the app. Currently, I am CTO of Decode, and I'm also working on the Alfred as a CTO, and on this journey of building Ethos 2.0, again, I am in role of architecting, designing, and making things secure. Looking forward to talking more about Magic Key.
5 guys, 20 hats. And then Shingo, do you want to, people I'm sure know who you are, but do you want to do just a quick intro?
Yep, I'm Shingo, co-CEO of Ethos. We're really excited to bring this new solution to market. We spent a lot of time thinking about how we can improve the way that keys and passphrases and seed phrases and all that stuff can be better managed. So, and we put a lot of that work, all of the panelists collectively, into creating this new Magic Key solution, and we're really excited to bring it to market.
Okay, awesome. So let's jump right into it here. So first question is why we created Magic Keys in the first place.
Yeah, so we really started from the place where Vitalik started, in terms of why he was talking about social recovery wallets and how the current wallet experience is really a big problem. Every single other wallet out there has seed phrases and mnemonics and tells you to remember these series of 12 or 24 words, and it puts a really big burden on the user, and it creates this notion that we call key anxiety, where the user has this big burden placed upon them to manage their own keys, and if they ever lose their keys, they're completely screwed. And if anyone gets access to their keys, or if they store their keys in the wrong place, it's really dangerous. And so that creates a big wallet security problem. And the same problem exists for hardware wallets, where you still have to remember your mnemonic, you have to remember your passphrases. And so this really created a real need in the marketplace for a key management solution that was easy, safe, and accessible, and could onboard the next billion users into the DeFi space.
Let me just ask, why is someone like Vitalik saying wallet security is a really big problem? Why would he write that in an article like he did?
Well, I think there's no shortage of stories where people have lost their keys, or where we all know some of the many of the famous stories where the guy had hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin on some old hard drive, and it got thrown into the dump, and now he's still to this day searching for it. And had he had a way of managing his keys better than just putting it on a key store file on his hard drive, he wouldn't have to be doing this. And so it's been an issue since really the beginning of crypto, where the way that keys are managed has put a big burden and onus on the user. which has created a real security issue where the user is exposing themselves to a lot of risk because of the way that the keys are sort of given to them.
Mm-hmm. And then why would he say hardware wallets alone are not good enough? Why can't I just get a ledger and stick my keys on there and then call it a day?
Well, it doesn't really solve the fundamental issue of that key anxiety, of that key management issue, where the ledger is going to give you your 24 words and you're going to write them down onto a little piece of paper, and you're told, do not lose this piece of paper, because if you ever lose this piece of paper, you lose access to all of your funds ever. And if someone gets access to that piece of paper, it doesn't matter how secure it is on the hardware wallet. It doesn't matter that you can't tamper with the hardware wallet. If someone gets access to your keys, your entire security infrastructure just crumbles. So it's a really big issue.
So the hardware wallet almost gives you the illusion of more security than you actually have.
Yeah, in some ways it does. In the hardware wallet's really just a really good way of managing your keys when you want to do a transaction. It's fantastic for doing that. It's not the only way to do that, but it's a fantastic tool for doing that. But it really doesn't solve the key issue of key management and in the need for social recovery systems.
Mm-hmm.
So one more thing with hardware wallets is that it has a lot of point of failures. What if you lose your mnemonic? Now you do not have any other way of recovering it, and devices kept very long. There is no way, no surety that they would work after 5 years or 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Even flash drives do not come with such a warranty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. Yeah, because if you put it on paper, right, you have a security problem. But if you put them on an electronic device, you have sort of the potential problem with the hardware of that device, right? It gives you a false sense of security in a way. So he wrote later in his article, what do we need? And he said, we need no single point of failure, low mental overhead. This can't be difficult for people to do, and maximum ease of transacting. So do we hit all of those points? And yes. How do we?
And we'll go over this in more detail as we talk about how the Magic Key system works. But Magic Keys, we've created a decentralized way that people can back up and restore their keys. So there's no single point of failure. If Ethos fails, the user still has access to their keys. If the user needs to reset their cryptography, or if someone gets access to their backup file, the user can reset the cryptography, and then it's not as disastrous as if someone gets access to your mnemonic, where they get access to your entire system. There are safeguards in place for that. So there's no single point of failure. It's a low mental overhead, because we think that it's a lot easier to use Magic Keys than it is to manage your passphrases. You only have to remember 3 out of your 5 safe words. There's a whole social guardian system that helps protect you and gives you a lot of peace of mind. So we really wanted to eliminate that key anxiety, which was a big mental overhead and a big onus on the user. And we can do all this without sacrificing the ease of use, the ease of transacting. So we think that we've been able to blend all the requirements that Vitalik laid out for a social recovery wallet, for a social recovery system that hits these major points.
Yeah, you know what I find really exciting about Magic Keys is a lot of these technologies were previously used for enterprise grade systems, or military grade systems, where you'd have these decentralized shards and processes for restoration, and we're really making that available to anybody on the planet. And that's, I think, one of these moments where you get this big potential disruption, where you get this technology that can get into people's hands that's self-empowering, which I think is so important, after all the centralized failures we had last year, Voyager, FTX, Celsius, where people basically had to trust a centralized, custodian. And they do that because it's so convenient, right? It's, you don't have to worry about all these things. So I think the holy grail is making something like Magic Keys as easy and convenient as a centralized exchange, so people, get the convenience, but they're not exposed to that centralized risk.
Yeah, I think in many ways,
Well, that touched a
sorry.
nerve. Everybody wants to talk.
Go
No,
ahead,
no.
Eric.
Well, I just think when you said key anxiety, that kind of struck a note, right? I mean, I think we all have key anxiety because we don't have the Ethos Magic Keys, at least with us right now, right? So, like I know that my wife, for instance, is like, okay, let's go over where are the keys, how do I recover them, stuff like that, and built-in social recovery, right, changes all those factors, right? And getting people loaded on to Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever network it might be, having them write down 12 words, 24 words, and then tell them, if you lose this, your money's gone forever and you can't call anyone up.
Yeah,
That's
ridiculous.
that's the worst anxiety you can give somebody. It's like, okay, here's a loaded gun, good luck, don't shoot yourself.
Right.
And I really do think key anxiety is solving that, right, really smooths in the access for people who want to get involved but don't want to have to learn the entire hassle of managing keys and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember when I made my first set of keys, she was like, don't sit near a window, turn off all your recording devices, make sure Alexa's unplugged. And it's like, holy crap, this is like, these make me paranoid, but I guess there's so many stories of people that are just, that's the easiest heist in history.
I talked to someone today, actually. They lost $900, I think, due to a phishing scam. So that's a little bit different type of exploit, but just goes to show that risk is out there, right? And with these technologies, you have to kind of take the onus on you. Luckily, right, Magic Keys dissolves that problem a little bit for you.
I saw this guy on Reddit, and he was like, somehow somebody drained money from my ledger. How is this even possible? I thought this was utterly secure. And he figured it all out. What had happened was somebody had bought a ledger, opened it up, put in a preset key. It's like, oh, we preset the key for you.
Yes.
And put in the 24 words in there, and he just dutifully typed them in. And then the thief waited a few months for him to get comfortable and fund everything, and then drained his ledger. So like people think, oh, it's on this device, therefore it's stored there, but they don't really know. No, it's just essentially it's on the blockchain, and this is sort of like almost an interface in a way.
Yeah, very common with resellers, right? I mean, if you buy from Amazon, it doesn't sometimes come from Amazon warehouse, right? It could come from elsewhere, right? Or wherever you're going to buy it. And so I think there's always those security the stickers. I actually got a ledger one time where the security sticker just was iffy. I just wasn't feeling secure, and I never used it. It just wouldn't.
It's like the peanut butter's open. There's a little mold in there. Don't want to eat this.
Yeah. It was spoiled. Let's just say that.
All right.
Well, I think all these stories, though, they highlight the fact that self-custody systems have been sort of held back by all these issues. There's all these security flaws, all these burdens and key anxiety. All these things have really held back the self-custody space. And I would argue in many ways created the centralized meltdowns, because everyone was sort of driven to these centralized systems because they didn't want to have to manage their own keys and coins and all that stuff. And it was too difficult for them to do that. So they went to these centralized places where they then all got caught up in these bankruptcies and lost all their crypto. Yeah. So we really wanted to bring it back to crypto's roots, back to the reason why crypto exists in the first place, which is decentralization, managing your own keys, self-custody. But we need to make those ideas and the implementation of those ideas accessible to everybody on the planet. And that was why we created Magic Keys.
I had a conversation last night with a really smart venture capitalist, and he loved what we were doing, but he said, well, I'm not convinced consumers are going to get away from centralization. They're going to get burned, and then they'll forget about it in 2 years. They'll do it all over again, and the whole cycle will repeat itself. And I was saying, that's why companies like Ethos need to be there, trying to make self-custody, self-control, self-sovereignty as easy and convenient as a centralized exchange. Because if we can do that, then I think people will naturally want to secure their own assets and not put it in the hand of a faithless custodian. So it was interesting, that perspective of, well, they're always going to want the drive-through, right? But I think, it's definitely possible to get a lot more people thinking this way and adopting the benefits of self-custody.
We want to break the cycle of centralization.
Break the cycle. Break the cycle. Yes. Okay. So let's get into it. How Magic Keys work. Let's get under the hood a little bit. Tanuj, you want to talk to us a little bit? How these work and what are safe words and how they work?
Yeah, sure. So the big idea around Magic Keys is that to first eliminate this key anxiety, And to accomplish this, instead of providing users with some random 12 words that they need to write, why not let them choose the words they want to choose, which they can remember, like we usually remember our passwords or answers to security questions. So it would be secured through the words that users already remember. And there could be cases where they forget few of the answers as well, or few of the passphrases as well. So that's where what we did is that instead of you remembering all of the words or security answers, or what we call magic keys, you only have to remember 3 out of 5. So while creating your vault, you would provide 5 passphrases, but you only have to remember 3 out of those. Now, this brings to the question that they are easy to social engineer, and users can fall into this trap where security answers are usually socially engineered. But the fact here is that these 5 or 3 passphrases are not the only thing which secures the actual final wallet. What instead happens is that, so it's a little bit more cryptographic process where the actual secret which is used for ECDSA signatures, and which is supported by almost all of 90% of the blockchains, that secret is generated, and then that secret is splitted into 3 shards. So the main secret that is used is splitted. Now these 3 shards are distributed into multiple systems. By system, I mean devices, servers. So what happens is that out of these 3 shards from the secret, the user encrypts all of these shards with an RSA key, RSA public key. So now what happens is that these shards, when combined, brings the final secret to be used. But the fact is that to combine all of these shards needs to be decrypted by the private key of RSA private key. So now the question comes, now we are bringing back this key anxiety. Who would keep these this RSA private key? So the RSA key is generated and kept by user, but it is encrypted with the 3 different answers that you have already provided previously. So, and this is the just high level, but in reality, what happens is that the private key is splitted into 5 shards using Shamir's secret sharing algorithm, such that any 3 parts of the 5 shards would bring this RSA key back to the user. And then that RSA private key would be used to decrypt the initial 3 shards of actual ECDSA secret, and they can recover the wallet. So now the question comes in, this is still brute forceable. Like anyone can guess these 3 answers, they would get access to the RSA private key, then again get to the 3 shards, decrypt them, and get to the final secret. But we restrict this with a simple approach that why not split these shards, the backup of RSA keys, and these 3 or 5 answers in separate places. So the answers to these 5 questions are only in head of the user. Now this private key and 2 of the shards of final secret are uploaded to the Google Drive or iCloud or wherever the user want to put. And the 3rd shard is kept with Ethos, with a very high durability storage that spans across, I would say, 9 nines. So the durability is such that there are no chances that Ethos can ever lose the 3rd shard. So protection against social engineering is provided where the user will have to first get 2 shards either from their Google Drive, iCloud, then they would get the 2 shards, but they need to decrypt these 2 shards first. So for the RSA key, they would have to answer 3 out of 5. They will now the user has the RSA private key. User can decrypt 2 shards, but it is useless until we also have the 3rd shard. Now this 3rd shard is protected by Ethos Foundation, and this is done in a manner where you will have to sign a message through your RSA private key that you already have, send it over to Ethos Foundation. Ethos Foundation would authenticate you again with your 2nd or 3rd factor authentication, maybe mobile number, email, or UB key, or multiple factor authentications we can have. And then Ethos puts in a 24-hour and 48-hour cooling period. And within this, Ethos also emails and informs the social guardians that the user might have provided during his creation of the vault. And any of the guardians can veto the process that would intimate Ethos to not release the 3rd shard, because that it seems to be something that seems to be something wrong. And yeah, so this is how once the cooling period has passed over, Ethos Foundation provides the 3rd shard, and then the user wallet using the magic keys through the security of Google Cloud, iCloud, and the cooling period and security from Ethos, they combines all 3 shards and they get the actual secret.
So I just want to unpack a couple things in there, because we're kind of using what people understand, which is security prompts, like, what was your first car? Kia. What was, where'd you get married? Bermuda. What school did you go to? UMass Amherst. We're using those, what people think are almost password prompts are actually safe word prompts, or they're really safe words. And those safe words are mini seeds that then encode the shards, and then lets us sort of split them with one encoded set and then a backup set, and then with a process that includes Vitalik's social guardian concept to put them back together. That's kind of it in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
Well, also another thing that's nice about this system is that there's also the concept of sort of resetting your password too. And I always call it resetting your cryptography or resharding your keys. But the concept is really familiar to users, where you can actually reset your password. So say someone gets access to your backup file and your safe words and decrypts that file and starts to request a restoration, your social guardians can stop that restoration. But then in a traditional system, there's no recourse in when that happens, where if someone gets access to your mnemonic, they just have access to your account. But with Magic Keys, you can sort of reset your password, and you can reset the cryptography, set new safe words, and then reshard the keys again. And when you do that, then the person has to get access to the new file and then crack your safe words all over again. You could choose new safe words. And so there's this idea that you can sort of reset your password. In fact, we would encourage people to do that every 6 months or every 12 months to sort of for maximum security. And it creates a more secure system where the user then, when they're targeted by an attack, they actually have a way to sort of fight back and protect their own keys.
It's like a layered security approach. And what I like about Magic Keys also is there's not something that hasn't been battle tested in there, because sometimes you see these new, systems come out that say, oh, we have elliptical curves or whatever to protect. But then you're like, well, the first, say, 100,000 users are really the guinea pigs, right? That are testing this thing out. Whereas with Magic Keys, we're layering a bunch of battle tested technology, and it's that layering effect, the additive effect, that really creates I think a more secure ecosystem for the user.
I think the idea of just real quick, I remember when we had the Ethos East Coast Summit, and one of the talking points was actually sharding keys. And you look at where we are today, there's not a lot of wallets that allow you to shard your keys in social recovery. A lot of those wallets, they're smart contract wallets, and that just hasn't really taken off like what you would find in the market today. So the fact that you can finally bridge in social, right, on a normal style wallet that gives you multi-chain access, is pretty powerful because there's very, very few out there, if any. I'm not sure of any off the top of my head.
I saw one wallet where they're like, oh, just back up your key on Google Drive unencrypted, which seems like a crazy thing to do, because if someone just hacks your email and the searches for files with 24 words in them, right? To say,
yeah, the Russian roulette of wallets, very nice.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. But
Well, what I find,
sorry, even some wallets try to do this, that you back up your key by encrypting it with another key encryption key and use two different cloud providers. But the fact is that they are missing point of failures.
Exactly.
If you lose access to your iCloud account, no one is going to hear your request at the Apple.
Right.
And the magic keys and the systems that we have solved these issues very well. So maybe we should talk more about the point of failures in the Ethos system. That would be a much more clear idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is these keys can be backed up anywhere you want, right? So once you have the encrypted backup file, because it only contains 2 of the shards and it's encrypted with your safe words, so you have 2 layers right there. I mean, you can kind of put it anywhere, right? You could put it on your computer. You could put it, we actually encourage people to put it in multiple spots in case they lose access to, iCloud, like you said. By separating these, I think it truly is decentralizing, your keys in a way that's safe. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but like we wouldn't have to put the backup shard on Ethos service. We could put it on IPFS or somewhere decentralized if we wanted to, right?
Yep. Since the shard that Ethos holds is already encrypted using the public key of RSA, that the corresponding private key is only held by the user. So it's completely secure. Although we re-encrypt these shards twice, thrice, and keep rotating those. So even if someone has got access to social engineer you, got access to your iCloud, passed over your guardians, had this cooling period, would not have been done, but they have somehow got access to the files or the storage systems, they are not going to get anything out of it, because the storage systems that we have encrypts these things with cloud key management systems, then re-encrypts them with array of AES, and then it is re-encrypted on the storage part on the cloud. So it's really, really hard. Even if you got raw access to the storage, nothing.
But what if the storage gets encryption attack? How do we protect against that?
So that's protected by a versioned thing. So all of the buckets in AWS, GCP, and multiple clouds, there is a feature called version. So files are never deleted. If there are changes, it would be a new version. So even if we get a pre-encryption attack, it's not going to get destroyed. Apart from that, we are also backing it up on multiple clouds. So not just Google Cloud or AWS, we have plethora of them. So
and even if you lose even if a hacker gets access to the entire storage, they can pretty much they can't do anything with it.
They can't do anything. They don't have the backup files for each user. Even if they try to screw the entire Ethos ecosystem, how many users they can social engineer and how many iCloud accounts they can also hack.
Yeah, it would be a lot of effort for somebody to try and crack this. I mean, just like a Herculean effort, and then after all that, just your social guardian would like, who's this guy, right? And so I mean, it's just yeah. I'd like to also just talk a little bit about how the Magic Keys work with the secure enclave. Like on iPhone, there's an uncrackable hardware component which they use for Face ID and fingerprint storage. And then on Android, it's called the trusted execution environment. They basically, after iPhone introduced that, they put that standard on most Android chipsets. So essentially what it's doing is it's using that secure storage to store the Magic Key. That's the only spot that it's stored, and those are uncrackable. And then then the user gets the benefit of a device it's kind of like a ledger, except you can sign transactions, you can browse blockchain protocols. So you're really getting the benefit of self-custody along with the capacity to sign blockchain transactions securely.
Yeah, this was the last prong of sort of Vitalik's 3 requirements for a system like this, where you wanted to have this decentralized key management system, but without sacrificing any of the ease of transaction. So when the user wants to do a trade, or if they want to do a blockchain transaction, or if they want to interact with a dApp, or whatever they want to do with their keys, they can do that by simply using their biometric. It unlocks the secure enclave, which is basically, you can think of the secure enclave as basically a hardware wallet or a hardware wallet system that is used for cryptography that exists on both iPhones and Androids. On iPhones, the secure enclave, and on Android, the TEE. And that unlocks when you want to do a transaction, and then locks right after that. So your keys are only exposed when you need to do a transaction.
Yeah,
and what's also nice is that we lower end Android phones, right, and lower end iPhones all basically have these secure enclaves inside of them. So it's pretty wide market for people who want to use the Ethos wallet as well as the secure enclave technology.
It's like the iPhone replaced alarm clocks and cameras and like flashlights, and so now there's yet another thing that it's it's sort of enabling to hardware, the hardware key storage.
Yep.
Wallets, when used via mobile app, are prone to attacks where your device got stolen and then users do not have a PIN code set on that. So most of the wallets out there, what they do is they provide a way where you just input a 5 or 6 digit PIN, and that's the lock for your app. But that does not work, because 5-6 digit PIN that is not verified by a server can be brute forced within minutes. There are not that much of combinations. Now, this secure enclave or TTE, when provided by Apple and other manufacturers, they pretty much make it really mandatory that if the enclave is used with most highest security of RSA encryption, then they will have to set a PIN of at least 6 digit or have a biometric, and that device gets itself logged, or it wipes the data if you try too much of attempts or try to brute force. So that security is also inherited by us using the highest security of enclaves.
Yep.
I think SAC was something that even the FBI could not crack, right?
Yeah. The FBI told Apple, we want to get into the iPhone and you have to let us in. And Apple said no. It was this epic standoff, and you have to kind of give props to Apple for standing their ground in that one, because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so it's secure enough that the FBI can't crack it.
Yeah. So guys, with the few minutes we have left, I did also want to talk a little bit about why magic keys are important and what are the benefits to users and the rest of the crypto industry. We have this comparison here. Maybe Ankur, you can just talk to this a little bit.
Yep. So I think we've all talked a lot about how magic keys is going to make our life easier. And I think with this, we have hit the sweet spot. The 3 things that Vitalik mentioned, I think we have hit the sweet spot. There's no anxiety because these are words that I very easily remember. There's no single point of failure, as Tanuj mentioned. You have them distributed, and then you have the social recovery mechanism. And then there's this ease of transaction. Like, I don't have to go to my locker. I don't have to go somewhere, get my hardware wallet if I want to buy some ETH really fast. Crypto goes up and down, and you want to be there. You want to be able to buy stuff when it is there, right? You don't want to wait up till the morning and go to the bank, open the locker, get your money in, and then do that. So the ease of transaction is also there. And but it is comparison chart because we wanted to ensure that we are hitting all the right spots. And we compared it against, I think, hardware wallets, the non-custodial ones that we have currently in the market, and the custodial ones like freelance finance. So the hardware wallet, I think we have all discussed. There are issues that Shingo also mentioned earlier. The custodial wallets, I won't even go into that. I think people are now aware what can happen if you actually put your money with all those custodial solutions. With the non-custodial ones, I think there are some wallets that offer you backup mechanism, but they are not very foolproof. They're like, just put them on one Google Drive or stuff like that. And with Ethos and with Magic Keys, I believe that we now have something where I don't have key anxiety. I remember my 3 safe words. I don't have to run to the locker every time, and I know that even if Ethos fails, my keys are safe. So I think that's the beauty of Magic Key, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, we're gonna make one available for everybody in the planet. So used to be, you know, this is like this expensive, you know, $100,000 a year, you know, SaaS service or whatever, and we're just going to make it free for everybody, with the hope that, you know, we make it as easy and convenient as using a centralized exchange and really empower everybody who wants to be in this space. So this has been so great. I'm actually quite late for an important meeting I was supposed to be on, but this was a really, really great panel. Are there any closing thoughts before we wrap?
You should do it again.
Yeah, we should. This is actually really good. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining. You know, I really appreciate it. I know Ankur and Tanuj, it's late at night there, so thank you for staying up and doing this. And Derek, I know you're super busy with Steer. Really appreciate you carving out the time. And Chingo, thanks as always for everything. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk again soon.